Hi everyone. Welcome back. Let's start with a new yawn topic, which is deservingness. What is it about? In post-communist Eastern and Central Europe, history is intensively personal and economic and saturated with moral feelings. So it's quite interesting. It's written by the Till Hilmo, is a postdoctoral researcher in the Department of Sociology at the University of Vienna, Austria, and faculty fellow at the Yale University's Center for Cultural Sociology. And he is an author of the Deserved Economic Memories After the Fall of Iron Curtains 2023. So let's start with the first basis. In Central and Eastern Europe, history weighed heavily on personal relationships. When Russia first attacked Ukraine in 2014, the bond of family and friendship of which there were so many between these two societies came under strain. In 2022, when Russia launched its full-scale war, these tensions became unbearable. Social connections scattered like the branches of a treetop in the fury of hurricane. At the at the very moment personal relationships yield to history, it became evident that it was not solely a matter of politics, but rather deeply rooted moral convictions. After all, how could one maintain a friendship with a person who adhered to the Kremlin distortion of reality, who is willing to condemn the propagation of blatant lies and the justifications of mass murder? So what this passage is basically say that the central in the Central and Eastern Europe, history weighed heavily on the personal relationship. When Russia's first attack Ukraine in 2014, the bonds of family and friendships, of which there were many between these two societies, came under stains. So this passage is saying the relationship between the peoples there in Ukraine and the fear in the people of Ukraine. And what it says next. In 2022, when Russia launched its full-scale war, this tension became unbearable. Social connections shattered like the branches of tree tops in the fury of a hurricane. At the very moment personal relationship held to history, it became evident that it was not solely a matter of politics, but rather deeply rooted in moral convictions. After all, how could one maintain a friendship with a person who adhered to the Kremlin distortion of reality, who is willing to condemn the propagation of balanced lies and the justification of mass murder? So he says that after a first attack in 2014, there is a relationship is completely shattered between Russia and Ukraine. The people there, people are fearful. But after 2022, they're just completely in a shock. We can say that because all their hopes are shattered like a tea drop branches. Even now, it seems like it's not just only a matter of politics, but it's just someone's moral views. Why that someone is do that in this today's modern era? Because it doesn't. How can somebody, if in case they wanted to join themselves in Russia, but what is the justification they get? How can just they believe the person who are the reason behind the mass murder? So, what the title of this passage is The Fear of Ukraine People. So what we can take from here is that the important line: the social connections that are like the branches of tree top in the fury of hurricane. At the very moment personal relationship yelled to the history, it became evident that it was not solely a matter of politics but rather deeply rooted moral conviction. Caramel distortion of reality that we can take, and moving forward to the another pieces. Looking back a bit further into the past, we can observe that the act of breaking social ties or forcibly severing relationship is not unprecedented in the context. It has occurred during the revolutionary event and significant transformation. The fall of communism, the 1989 to 1991 revolution, and the turbulent 1990s, which brought fundamental changes to the social fabric of Central and Eastern Europe society. What precisely are the underlying forces at play here? How can we comprehend them from a sociological point of view? So this passage, whole passage is about the questioning, the change, revolutions in 90s, in late 90s. So it says that this things is not the first time occurred, but there is a history of these things as well, which is what we can take, what we can do summarize this passage as that it has occurred during the revolutionary events and significant transformations follow communism, the 1989 to 1991 revolution and the turbulence in 90s, which brought fundamental changes to social fabric and Central in Eastern European society. That only we can take from this basis. So let's moving toward the next para. In her book The Taste of Ashes, 2030, the intellectual historian Marcy Shore guides us through the manifold and multi-layered entanglement of history and interpersonal relationship in Central and Eastern Europe after all the fall of communism. Shore portrays a world in which there is no innocence. There can be no innocence because each and every adult individual was to some degree involved in system by which the communist parties wield a power and control. By the 1980s, the system had become primarily structured around a corrupt manifestation of political loyalty, characteristic, above all, by complicity, spineless nepotism, and backdoor dealing. This historical legacy holds a great sway over interpersonal relationship. And so, after 1989, when the regimes finally broke down, Pandora's box was opened. So, what this passage is saying that in her book The Taste of Ashes, 2013, the intellectual historian Mercy Shore guided us through the manifolds and multi-layer entanglement of history and interpersonal relationship in culture in Central and Eastern Europe after the fall of the communism. So it is the descriptions. It is this line is describing about what the book The Taste of Ashes holds, and it's a quite brief descriptions about the interpersonal relationship in Central and Eastern Europe. Shore portray a world in which there is no innocence. There can be no innocence because each and every adult individuals was to some degree involved in the system by which the communist parties wielded the power and control. So what the book contains? So this line shows that the sword portray the innocence portrayed that there is no one innocence in this matter. Everyone is playing some role in it, or just a dirty roles, which is wielded by the power and control. By the 1980s, the system had become primarily structured around a corrupt manifestation of political loyalties, characteristics, above all by complicity and spineless nepotism backdoor dealing. We say this by 1930. The whole system is corrupt by the politicians and the people's nepotisms, and there is also a backdoor dealing. Means there is no justifications at all during this era. The historian legacy hold a great sway over interpersonal relationship, and so after 1989 when the regime finally broke down, Pandora box was opened. So it just gives that the history is not so, what we can say, it's not so justified or open to everyone, so that we can just justify, okay, whatever the things happened that time, just completely justifiable. But no. So what we can take, so what is the title of this whole passage is What Truth Unlock by the Taste of Ashes. What we can take from here is that there is no innocence, there can be no innocence, because each and every adult individual was to some degree involved in the system by which the Communist Party wielded the power and control. A corrupt manifestation of political loyalty characterized above all by complicity and spineless nepotism and backdoor dealing. This historical legacy holds a great swap over interpersonal relationship. That's all we can take from that passage. Moving toward the next one. The question arose, who is responsible? Who can be trusted? For those discovering a trusted friend's collaboration with the secret police, how can handle the situation post 1989 become a crucial? Downplaying the consequences and refusing to sever ties with the past could lead to the end of the relationship, while remorse and acknowledgement of authorizations, rules, consequences might open a path to reconciliation. People faced choices determining their associations based on moral clarity and the pursuits of truth, as on avoiding unsettling questions. So, this whole passage is about the questions, who is actually responsible for all this and who we can trust. So what this passage is saying that for those discovering a trusted friendship collaboration with the secret police, how they can handle the situation post 1989 become crucial. So those it's about to those who have a friendship with the police, secret policies, how they can handle the situations post 1989, because now the situation is crucial. Downplaying the consequences and refusing to sever ties with the past could lead to the end of the relationship. With remorse and acknowledgement of authorizations rule, consequences might open a path to reconciliations. So it's say that if they goes against those people, now whatever their ties with them is completely broken. So if they just acknowledge these situations and consequences, they might be reconciled. People face the choices determining their association based on moral clarity and the pursuits of truth, or as on avoiding unsettling question. Here, who are sufferers? Actu- who are sufferers in all this situation? Exactly the people, none other than the public of this reason, and but they don't have any choice whom they trust and whom they not. Still, their questions are unclear. So, what the summary of this passage is that the first people face the choices and determining their associations based on moral clarity and the pursuit of truth or as on avoiding unsettled questions. This we can take from here. Let's moving toward the another passage, which is a small one. Shore's account is a captivating everyday phenomenology of politics, laying bare how political past and future can create division among a people. However, there is a more to it. Another subtle process can also alienate former friends. The issue of economic deservingness. So now this passage, what this passage is saying that the source account, the source, whatever source written in her book, now it started peeling out the every layer of politics of that era because it's in the name of friendship. The whole people are suffering. That's all for this passage. Let's moving toward the next one. In June 1992, soon after the fall of the wall, Berliner Zeitung, a formerly state-run newspaper in the communist-ruled German Democratic Republic, invited its reader to submit letter to the editor on the topic of friendship. What was meaning of friendship today? One reader recounted that when my friend got married, it did not impact our friendship at all. Our relationship broke off, strangely but tellingly, with the fall of the GDR. The fundamental differences our character reveal themselves. Once we are tacitly aware of, but which had not impacted our friendship before. So, what this passage is basically saying that in June 1992, the Berliner Zeitung newspaper just invite the reader to submit a letter to the editors about the topic friendship. So there is what the friendship they mean, what the friendship means today. So one of the reader just sent that when my friend got married, it did not impact our friendship at all. Our relationship broke off strangely but tellingly with the fall of GDR. What this means? It means that when my friend got married, when someone has entered into his her life, that time still my friendship had not broke down. But after the fall of GDR, my friendship broke down because of separation between the two people and two community. So what this basically here showing that the fundamental differences in our character reveal themselves once we are tacitly aware of, but which had not impacted our friendship before. So what we can take from here is that just this last line. The fundamental difference in our character reveal themselves once we are tacitly aware of, but which had not impacted our friendship before. That's all we can take from this passage. And let's moving toward the next passage. What might those differences in character be? During the 1990s, throughout Eastern Europe, people witnessed profound economic changes. The transformation period was characterized by its contradictions. It gave rise to the great political and economic accomplishments, but also to innumerable socio-economic tragedies. Social upward mobility expectation for many did not materialize. In this advantage region, poverty surged and many lives were lost due to the health-related complication. In an analogy to the disindustrializing Rust Belt in the United States, social scientists have described the profound health consequences in certain regions and societies of Eastern Europe as death of despair. In some areas, especially in the post Soviet society further east, economic shocks become a persistent reality. In their book, Taking a Stock of Shock 2021, Kristen Gotze and Michelle Orenstein have calculated that on average, it took approximately 17 years for the 28 post-communist society to return to their level of economic output of 1989. So what this passage is saying that what might those differences in character be? During the 1990s, throughout the Eastern Europe, people witnessed profound economic change. It says during 1990s, there is a change in the people because of the economic change. This transformation period was characterized by the contradiction. It gave rise to the great political and economic accomplishment, but also innumerable socio-economic tragedies. At this time, there is a great accomplishments in political and economic directions, but there is also a socio-economic tragedies. Social upward mobility expectation for many do not materialize. In disadvantaged region, poverty surges and many lives were lost due to the health-related complications. It says that some portion of the people are getting advantage of this economical accomplishment, but at some point some peoples are completely not getting what is necessity especially. In an analogy to the disindustrializing Rust Belt in United States, a social scientist have described the profound health consequences in certain regions of society of Eastern Europe as deaths disappear. It says that one of the social scientists of United States termed this whole situation as death of disappear. In some areas, especially in the post-Soviet society further east, economic shocks become a persistently a reality. In their book Taking Stock of Shock 2021, Kristen Gotze and Michelle Orenstein have calculated that on average it took approximately 70 years for 28 post-communist society to return to their level of economic output of 1989. This says that in book Taking Stock of Shock, it says that it took approximately 17 years for the post 17 year 28 post-communist society to return to their level of economic output of 1989. So whatever the revolutions happened in 1989, to overcome of the damages which occurred that time, it took communists 17 year, on an average 17 year to recover from that. So what we can take from here is that the title of this whole passage is Situation During 1990s. So what we can take from here is that firstly, the transform period was characterized by contradiction. No, not this from here. It gave a rise to the great political and economic accomplishment, but also enumerates social economic tragedy and social upward mobility expectation for many did not materialize, this we can say, and disadvantage reason poverty surges and many lives are lost due to the health related complications and death of disappear by social United States social scientist term, and it took approximately 17 years for the post-communist society to return to the level of economic output of 1989. So this is all for that passage. Just moving toward the another passage. As the state retreated from the economy, public resources like healthcare were marketized and defunded. Welfare system weakened, life chances diverged, and social inequality surged. Individual who once resided in the same neighborhood possesses the means of acquire similar goods and embarked on the comparable if moderate vacations found themselves occupying vastly disparate social positions merely a few years after the collapse of Iron Curtain. People developed different way of coping with this new reality. So this passage is describing about the situations of the peoples toward each other, who are the once neighbor, now they become a stranger, who are once friend, now become a completely stranger. So what this says that, so the title of this whole passage is the changes in peoples after the revolution. Firstly, Firstly, the public resources like healthcare were marketized and defunded. Life changes are diverse and social inequality surge. And this is the whole, this summary of the whole that above lines. The people develop different way of coping with, no, not this. We can take this. Individual who once reside in the same neighborhood possesses the means of acquire similar goods and embark on the comparable, if moderate vacation found themselves occupying the vastly disparate social position mere a few years after the collapse of the Iron Curtains. It shows the same meanings like now the people who are considered themselves a neighbors and friend now they are completely stranger. So that's all for the today's video. We will continue the another series with another video. As of now, have a great day.